What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Boxing Ego's Monday Mail Day, MMD. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And I picked a lot of questions, so I have no time to waste. Let's get right into it. I put a thumb up next to the questions I'll be answering. If I didn't get to you this week, try again next week. And let's get started, because I'm kind of scared, because I picked a lot of questions, so I don't know how long this is going to run. Let's get it. First question is from Reese, the comedian. I've heard that ERISLANDY LARA said he would fight Jermell Charlo for a unification. Who do you favor? If it were up to me, I would pick LARA. They've trained, they've sparred. To me, I think Jermell Charlo, the one that knocked out Julian J. Rock Williams, is the better of the twins. Jermell is still a good fighter. So that being said, I think the Jermell fight would be a tougher fight for LARA because he's a bit taller. He's noticeably taller than his brother. And Jermell Charlo, I covered his fight when he fought against John Jackson. And I had him losing like mostly all of those rounds before he turned it around with the knockout. He was getting outboxed. That's all John Jackson was doing. Now you look at LARA, he's a southpaw. He can box, and he's very slippery. And he looked good in his last fight with Yuri Foreman. Granted, it was Yuri Foreman. I would just have to go with the champion, ERISLANDY LARA, who, in my opinion, arguably doesn't have any losses. He definitely beat Paul Williams, and I'm a huge Punisher fan, but fair is fair. And I had him beating Canelo in a close competitive type fight, pause, by 1 or 2 rounds. Next question is from Strokes Hunter. Do you think a boxing video game will do well with today's youth, with stars like Anthony Joshua, Canelo, Crawford, AB, Triple G, Loma, Wilder? A boxing game is much needed. Yes, EA Sports. It's in the game. I think it would do good. Any kind of sports related games, especially by EA Sports and whatnot, would be great. Fight night. And it also makes people probably more interested in boxing. If you had a game, you're like, who's this Golovkin guy? If you never heard of him, and you see his knockout percentage that they give him, you know how their little stats and what they're good at, speed and all that. You're like, who is this? You know what I mean? You might want to, if you keep using Golovkin as the character, you might want to watch his actual fight with Danny Jacobs next. You know what I'm saying? So it makes all the sense in the world. I haven't really played many video games lately, but I would definitely play a boxing game. Next question, Roberto Flores. Yo, Ego, let's say both Triple G and Canelo struggle to get wins in their fights. Would that hurt the hype of them fighting later on? Now, I don't know what you mean by struggle, but based on the question, it sounds like you mean if they win the fight, but it's a tough fight. I don't think it hurts. I think all they have to do ultimately is win, and their fight is still money. If one of them loses, that's what's going to be the thing that would hurt the fight. Right? Because, I mean, you look at it, Canelo, you could say he's been exposed by Mayweather. You could say LARA exposed vulnerabilities. And recently with Golovkin, you could say Kell Brook exposed some things, some flaws, even though he lost that fight, right? So at the end of the day, they're going in against, like, Canelo's moving up 10.5 pounds, and Golovkin's going in against the number 2 guy in the division and a solid puncher. So, I mean, there's no real shame struggling to somebody who's you're equal or you're moving up all that weight, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what's supposed to happen, unless you moved up to fight some bum or you're not fighting the right fights. But if it's the number 1 and 2, it should be a competitive fight. So I don't think a struggle would hurt Canelo Triple G. People are still going to want to see it. If like someone got knocked out or lost bad, then that could hurt it. Because I mean, if Canelo can't even beat Chavez Jr., even though he's moving up all this weight, if he can't beat him at 164.5, Golovkin has better technique. So why would anyone believe that he could beat Golovkin at 160 with more amateur experience? He's taller than Canelo and he has better technique and has showed more of a consistent professionalism throughout his career than Chavez Jr. has, right? So that would be, if they lose, would hurt more than if they win and struggle, in my opinion. Next question, Dowd Salmon. Do you think Pacquiao was ever on steroids? Loaded question. And I'm not even going to answer just because there's no way to prove it, yes or no. So I'll plead the fifth and say no comment. You guys in the comment section, let me know what you think in that. Next question. Reese the comedian. If and when Roman Gonzalez hits and beats 49-0, do you think the media will push the idea in the casual's head that he is better fighter than Mayweather? Of course they would. I mean, they're already saying he's the number 1 pound for pound person. I talked to Paulie Malignaggi, and the funny thing is, you notice this. I'm not saying I know everything. I clearly don't know everything about boxing, but I feel I study the game. I respect the sport. I respect the fighters. And some of the stuff I say, you'll later hear fighters say the same thing. I told you guys. I said Roman, he's an exciting fighter to watch. He's entertaining. But I don't rate him pound for pound, number one. I said if you want to put him somewhere in the back of the pound for pound list, that's cool. He has a skill set, and he's moved up 4 divisions and went up in weight. But I told you guys, the weight classes in the lower divisions, some of them are separated for like 3 pounds. So yes, you're moving up, but you can move up. The levels to move up are much easier in that weight class. You know what I'm saying? Because you're, instead of fighting a guy at 112, you're fighting him at 115. You know what I'm saying? You're fighting a guy from 115, 118. Versus if let's say Canelo moves up to 160, has a couple fights, and then he moves up to 168 to fight the top guys at 168. That's a big difference. That's 8 pounds, right? So it's a little bit different. So yeah, of course the media is going to do whatever, but the truth, tell the truth. It always comes out. Truth always comes out. So if Roman is pound for pound number 1, then we should see that. But there's no way anyone can compare Mayweather's 49 opponents to Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, because we could at least name the guys that Mayweather has fought, right? I could tell you several, double digits even, the opponents he fought. And not only that, I could tell you what his opponents have done in the sport. I could tell you what Oscar De La Hoya, a guy he beat. I could tell you who Diego Corrales had good fights with, or Ricky Hatton, or Manny Pacquiao, Maidana. I could tell you guys about his opponent's whole career. But most people wouldn't be able to do that with most of the 49 people. Like, name 4 fights from Brian Valoria. I could name 4 Oscar De La Hoya fights easy. 4 Oscar De La Hoya fights. Ike Cortez, Pernell Whitaker, Arturo Gatti, Pacquiao, Mayweather, right? I could do this all day. Shane Mosley twice, Bernard Hopkins. But name 4 Brian Valoria fights. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying the guys don't have any level of talent, but it's not the same as Mayweather's resume, point blank, period. Again, Roman in the last 2 years fought Valentine Leon, who had over 30 losses and been stopped like 19 times. Imagine, Mayweather can't even fight Berto without getting criticism. Imagine if Mayweather fought anybody who at the time he fought him, since he's been Money Mayweather, had 30 losses with 19 stoppages. They would clown him. They would roast the draws off of Floyd. So, yeah, it's no comparison, but most likely HBO and the media will probably try to swing that. Next question, Santos Aranda. Is Angel Garcia a racist? Now, I made a video about this, checking on the channel. He got banned, and it looks like he's no longer allowed to speak in the build-up. I don't know. I can't tell if I don't know him on a personal level to say if he yay or nay. Based on what he said, I don't think he was being racist. I don't think he's racist based on that. You know what I mean? And I said this in the video. A lot of people are just uber sensitive in today's society. And it's like the term racist gets thrown around. Like, I've actually encountered real racism. Like, where you go somewhere and they won't serve you, or they, you know what I mean, they play dumb or act weird and indifferent, or a police officer or something like that. So if you've never had those experiences, then you might not know. You could say Angel Garcia is a lot of things, wild, crazy, out of line. That's fine, but the racist term gets thrown around too easily. I don't think he did any, because they did this. Here's another person, Broner. He beat Carlos Molina, who is a Mexican American, and after he said, "Ah, man, you know, AB, I just beat the fuck out of a Mexican. Anybody can get it," and they said he's racist. I don't think that is racist. You could say it's tasteless or distasteful to say something like that, but I don't think Broner was being racist, and he got suspended, and people were calling him racist, making him a video. I mean, he actually fought a Mexican fighter, and he actually beat him. So, I mean, I don't think it's being racist by saying I beat the fuck out of a Mexican, especially when everybody knows that Broner's little token phrase is the can man shit. I just beat the Dominican, African, like nobody cared when he said Dominican or African, but he said I beat the fuck out of a Mexican, and they're like, oh no. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a lot of people just maybe don't like Broner, so you want to put labels on people. So I'm not really big on that, because I don't think You know what I'm saying? I genuinely don't think Broner was doing it to turn Mexican fans against him, right? Because if you say something pro, if Broner would be like, Chavez Sr., you know, he's the best Mexican fighter ever. No one would say, oh, he's racist because he said Mexican, because he's saying something positive. But since he said, I beat the fuck out of a Mexican, they try to spin it and make it like he was like, I don't know, singling out the race. But I don't think Angel Garcia, with what he said to Keith Thurman, I don't think he was saying it from a race. I think he said it to Amir Khan, to be honest. And Amir Khan's not even black. Keith Thurman's part black. He's black and white or whatever, right? So I think he was saying stuff like that to Zab Judah, to Amir Khan, calling him Aladdin. I think that's just his character. You got to remember the late great, rest in peace, Hector Macho Camacho, post-fight, he was like, I'm willing to fight anybody, anytime. All y'all niggas could get it. And we had a little curl. I don't think he's Puerto Rican too, like Angel Garcia. He's from the hood. He's from the borough. He's from New York or wherever, right? Puerto Rico. I don't think he was saying it like, yeah, I'm going to fight you, you know what I mean, Ku Klux Klan. Yeah. I don't think he was doing it like that. I think that's what, but not everyone's going to understand that, you know what I mean? So you could say it's tasteless or whatever, but I don't think, just like I don't think Hector Camacho was saying it to be racist. I don't know, but I didn't take it as he was doing it to be racist. But again, I don't know any of these people on a personal note. Next question, Joseph Reyes. Name your top 5 dream fights for 2017. You can make 2 fighters fight each other as long as they are in the weight class above. Garcia, Broner. That's a good one. We're getting one. Garcia, Thurman. Deontay Wilder, Joshua. I would love that fight. What else? Lomachenko, Rigondeaux would be a great fight, even at a catchweight. Who else do I want to see? Kell Brook and Errol Spence Jr. That's 4. I really want to see that fight. And a fifth fight. Canelo Triple G. Yeah, that's probably the 5th one. I just want to see that, especially if they get past their next opponents, Jacobs and Chavez. And then honorable mention would be Demetrius Andrade, ERISLANDY Lara, Demetrius Andrade and Jermell Charlo. That's a real good fight I would love to see. Oscar Valdez just called out Gary Russell Jr. I love that fight. Rigondeaux, Chocolatito, if Chocolatito wanted to move up or can fight at a catchweight. I mean, there's a lot of good fights, but those are the top 5, and then I gave you guys a couple extra ones. Next question, Ruben Sanchez. Hey, Ego, how much of a live dog do you think Kirkland would be in there against Miguel Cotto, that being that he's in Wolf again? You think the punishment he endured in his last fight is too much for him to come back from? It's possible. I don't really know, because the way Kirkland's been managed, he's not fighting frequently enough. He's not had any tune-ups. He hasn't had any fights since the Canelo knockout. See, it's crazy how some of these fighters are managed. I don't get it. And Troy King brought it up too about this inactivity. It's not good. Miguel Cotto's a definite Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, right? And he went the distance with Canelo. Kirkland got knocked out by Canelo. No tune-up, and he's automatically 2 guys that Canelo beat are in a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? It just sounds kind of weird. But I don't know. Because he hasn't fought. It'd be one thing if he had a comeback win, fought anybody, Carlos Molina or something, rematched him and then fought him, and then we got to see. But it's anybody's guess. It's a shot in the dark, because it seems that James Kirkland keeps taking a year plus off in between fights. Glenn Tapia, great win for him. Then he didn't fight anybody until Canelo. Then Canelo knocks him out. Now, a year later, he's fighting another person Canelo beat on pay-per-view. So I can't tell you, because it was a nasty knockout. I can tell you that Canelo really did his thing in that. You know what I mean? With the knockout, that was Canelo's earliest knockout since I forgot what fight, but in a couple years. So it was a nasty knockout. And Wolf gives him the best chance, because I said this before, their personalities or their style, student-teacher style, it meshes well. He knows what to expect, and she pushes him to the brink. So it gives him the best shot to beat Cotto, unlike when he fought Canelo, who's big and strong and skilled, and he didn't even have Ant Wolf. So I think he's a live dog for sure. I also have questions about Cotto. He just come off a loss. He's had a long layoff too. And I don't know how much Cotto really wants to be in it. So if it's a dog fight and and Cotto doesn't do a Daniel Gill repeat where he's like dominating or get Kirkland out of there, the longer the fight goes, it's going to be interesting because Cotto's going to have to fight a guy who looks to be, they're going to weigh in the same, but to me, Kirkland's physique and stuff, he just looks a little bit thicker, massier, than Miguel Cotto. So it's going to be I think it could be a nutrition war. It's definitely Cotto's fight if he starts off early and keeps a cool pace. But if Kirkland gets into a rhythm and it's 4, 5, 6 rounds in, it's going to be interesting, especially with Ant Wolf, because like I said, I have questions about Cotto, how much he wants to be a fighter. He seems like he'd rather be a family man and promoter, and boxing is like secondary. So it's an interesting enough fight. I just don't think it's pay-per-view caliber. I think regular HBO, people wouldn't even probably complain because they're both coming off losses to the same man. Next question, AJ's. Since Rigo is willing to meet Loma at 126, what's the reason for Rigo not campaigning at 126 permanently, since Loma can arguably beat the entire division? Okay, it sounds like another question is different. Truth be told, I said this before. It's not like I'm just saying this to answer your question. Rigondeaux is tiny. I think he could honestly make 118. There's just no real big names for him right there. Or there weren't at the time, so he moved up for like Donaire and stuff. So that's why. I think 126 is still overextending himself, and like he's probably gonna go up if it's the fight that's gonna prove something for him. Lomachenko is considered the best elite, illustrious amateur background. So I mean, he's probably going for the top dog. I mean, that's, to me, put it this way. If he's you got to ask yourself this. If he's willing to fight the guy who beats really anybody at 126, 130, then what is the point of beating anybody else at 126? Leo Santa Cruz or Carl Frampton. If he could beat Lomachenko, he can beat Frampton, Santa Cruz, or any of those guys. I mean, do you guys pick Santa Cruz to beat Lomachenko? Would you pick Carl Frampton to beat Lomachenko? You know what I'm saying? So it's more telling that Rigondeaux is willing to fight the best out of all of them. You know what I mean? Or the guy who's considered looks to be the best out of all of them at 126. So it's really irrelevant who else he'll fight, and if he stays there and campaigns. The fact of the matter is he's willing to fight the guy who has the best chance of beating him at 126. You know what I mean? And like I said, if Rigondeaux beats Lomachenko, then I have no doubt in my mind that he can beat Carl Frampton, Scott Quigg, Leo Santa Cruz. Because I think Lomachenko's ring IQ and his angles and his style of fight is more dangerous to Rigondeaux than any of the other guys that I mentioned. Santa Cruz, Frampton, Scott Quigg. They have certain things like height or power, but volume. I mean, Lomachenko has a lot of that stuff too. And better footwork. And smarter. So that's my take. Second part of your question. Why are people not speaking on the fact that Canelo is still the lineal middleweight champion? I didn't know he was. Can Triple G become the undisputed champion without being the lineal champion? I gotta look into that because I don't think he is the lineal champion anymore because he gave up his belt, his WBC belt. So I don't know. But Canelo works with Golden Boy, and Golden Boy bought Ring Magazine or whatever. So maybe they have something fishy, some weird ranking. I don't know. Next question, Darrell Smith. What's up, Ego? Few questions. Who do you consider the number one welterweight? Is the winner of Thurman Garcia determine that? Yeah, I would definitely say that, because look at it like this. Keith Thurman, especially since Thurman fought Porter now, if he beats Danny Garcia, those are back-to-back very good names. Once beaten Sean Porter, who never got dogged and just lost to Kell Brook, and then undefeated Danny Garcia. Or Danny Garcia already has a really good resume, and in my opinion, in the welterweight under 30 club, he has the best resume, right? Not at welterweight, but in career-wise. Eric Morales twice, the Jab Judah, the Amir Khans, the Lamont Peterson. He's been in there with everybody, you know what I'm saying? He has a really good resume. Matisse, of course. So I would say Thurman Garcia, because I'm not talking about who would win or if Errol Spence can beat him. Errol Spence can possibly beat any of these guys on any given night, but I can't say he's the best welterweight until he gets the name. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't be right. You have to give it to the person who thus far has had the opportunities and done more and has more belts and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So the number one welterweight would have to be considered the Thurman Garcia winner. Kell Brook, I mean, he has one really good win on his resume. One. And that's Sean Porter. He has Golovkin on his resume too, but that's a loss, even though it's a different division. So yeah, I say Thurman Garcia is establishing the best winner, or the welterweight. I mean, unless you want to consider Pacquiao, but I mean, at this point, you could say legacy-wise, career-wise, Pacquiao's done more than everybody, like Thurman Garcia, Kell Brook and stuff, but the level of competition he's facing now, Jesse Vargas or Jeff Horn, Chris Algieri, Brandon Rios, I mean, he's not earning that number one spot. And then the guy that you could have got the number one spot from, you lost to and landed 71 punches. That was Floyd Mayweather. So yeah, I say Thurman Garcia. But that doesn't mean Errol Spence or Kell Brook couldn't beat the winner of that. It just means that they've showed and proved, and you got to rank them. Because you can't rank people based on theories per se. You know what I mean? In my heart, I think Errol Spence could go on to beat really maybe any of these guys. But I can't say he's the number one welterweight and actually rank him, like if I was doing a ranking system, when he's only fought Chris Algieri and Leonard Bundu. You know what I'm saying? Even though people have ducked him or whatever, it doesn't seem like they're... he still has to somehow, some way earn that. Second part. Do you think the winner of Santa Cruz, Frampton will finally grow some balls and fight Rigo? No, because we all know these guys have been ducking him. Probably not, because I think they're probably getting good paydays for Santa Cruz, Frampton 1 and 2, doing good crowds and stuff like that. So what's the incentive for them to fight Rigondeaux? They're going to say, oh, he's not popular enough, he's not making money, and it's a more dangerous fight. So if they've avoided him this long, why avoid him? And Rigondeaux's not ranked in the division that they fight in now, featherweight. So yeah, I think they'll avoid him again, or longer. I heard that Showtime was talking to Floyd and that there's a very small possibility that he'll come back to face the winner, Thurman Garcia. Your thoughts? I mean, Floyd's Floyd. He calls the shots. If he does decide to come back, that's certainly a deserving opponent at welterweight, and we'll see. But I mean, I don't really have any other comment. It's up to Floyd. It's always been up to Floyd for the last probably 5-10 years. So if he wants to call his career quits, cool. If he wants to come back and fight a person like that, it's way better than Jeff Horn. So salute. Next question, Peter Washington. Yo, Ego, enjoy your Troy training videos and 7 reasons. Thank you. Question, do you think we might finally see an undisputed welterweight champ by 2018 with the winner of Garcia Thurman fighting the winner of Errol Spence, Kell Brook, unless Brook vacates and Spence gets another fight? Also, do you think Ward will stay active this year with 2 fights at most? Yeah, it's definitely possible. As far as your welterweight question, the undisputed by 2018, it's possible, but it's boxing, so I wouldn't hold my breath. You know what I mean? People always, like, Errol Spence comes your mandatory or something, or tries to fight you in a unification. So people might, I can no longer make welterweight or this and that. So you never know. But the good thing is most of the top welterweights are on the Al Haymon side of things, right? So it's possible, but you still have Pacquiao has a belt and he's fighting the likes of Jeff Horn. So if Pacquiao beats Horn like he should, then you have a belt over there on top rank. So if Thurman and Garcia fight Errol Spence, Kell Brook winner, then they get the IBF and all the other belts. Then is Top Rank going to put Pacquiao in there with, you know what I mean, Errol Spence, Kell Brook, Thurman, or Garcia? That's the real question. So I wouldn't hold my breath about the undisputed thing. And Ward might fight 2 times a year. I don't know. I haven't really heard anything from him. Again, he's saying he might retire, so it's hard to say. I hope he does. I definitely will cover it if he does. And I think it would be a good idea because light heavyweight's popping. All right, next question, Kenny Flo. Is it true that Golovkin had to pay Danny Jacobs out of his own money just to get Danny Jacobs in the ring? I don't know where you heard that. I have never heard that, and that would be foolish. Why would Golovkin... What would his team be in charge for if he has to go to Bank of America and take out money and hand pay Golovkin or Jacobs? So I wouldn't say that's true, but I don't know where you heard that, but that doesn't sound realistic to me. That's what negotiations are for. And also, what would be the basis of it being on HBO pay-per-view if Golovkin has to front and put up the money for Jacobs' purse? That doesn't even sound logical. Why is it on pay-per-view? Doesn't make sense. Next question, Michael Steels. What's next for Tank Davis? Do you think a fight with Tevin Farmer will ever happen? I think Mayweather's going to he knows his fighter has star power and potential, so I think he's going to groom him, give him a rightful, maybe a hometown fight or somewhere close to his home. Kind of like what they did with Robert Easter. He's fighting a guy he should easily beat, Cruz. Not easily, but beat. He's fighting him in Toledo. I think they'll do something like that with Tank Davis. But hopefully, Tevin Farmer's my dude. Shout out to Tevin. He's been grinding, reinvented his career. I hope something like that would happen, but I don't know. Mayweather Promotions fairly new, so we don't know how he's going to market his new champion. But I think the right move is to get him some more seasoning, even though he's a champion. Keep him active and stuff like that, and then start going after the big fish. Next question is unknown. Do you think Felix Verdejo is ready to win a world title? I think he should take maybe 1 or 2 fights after the motorcycle accident, and then he should be. Lomachenko paid him a huge compliment. He says they fought in the amateurs, and out of Lomachenko has 400 amateur fights. He said Verdejo was the hardest fight for him, even though he beat him. So that's a huge compliment from a very good fighter. So yeah, I would say he's ready for a title shot. He just needs to make sure everything's on the up and up after being in that motorcycle accident. Make sure he's injury free and ready to go. Next question, Ronald Perez. Name your top 5 Cuban fighters today. Luis King Kong Ortiz, Guillermo Rigondeaux, ERISLANDY Lara. I want to say, who else is Cuban? Francis Bartholomew, and there's a 5th one that I'm thinking of. I can't think of what division. I would say Sullivan Barrera. I also like Mike Perez too, but Sullivan Barrera, he was decently competitive. I covered his fight with Ward. Even though he got knocked down, he was decently competitive. He had some marks on Ward's face and stuff like that, and then he just beat the Golden Boy prospect Shabransky, knocked out Cairo Murat, and he's looking to face Artur Beterbiev. So I would say Sullivan Barrera, but I like Mike Perez too. So that's my 5. Next question, random commenter, Ego. Do you think Canelo versus Chavez Jr. should have taken place in Mexico? No. I mean, it would definitely do record-breaking crowds in Mexico, like the Azteca Stadium or whatever. But I think both of them came to America and established their name in America. So they've transcended beyond Mexico. And it's promoted by Golden Boy. So I think it makes sense in America. But maybe that's just me being biased because I want to see it in America. So I think it just needs national coverage and English coverage too. And it would be harder to get all the YouTube reporters and everybody to go down to Mexico. I mean, some would probably do it, but it just requires different things. You know what I mean? And both of them have a name in America. So that's what I think. But I'd rather have it in Texas than Vegas. That's just me. I think that would make more money in Texas, but it's my opinion. Next question. J386. Have you heard anything about Brandon Rios versus Victor Ortiz? No. Last time I heard they were supposed to fight February 4th, and I've heard nothing. I just seen kind of videos of them training, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know if someone pulled out. I just seen both of them kind of training, so I don't think there's a definitive date. Freddie, next question, Freddie Olivo. Do you think final fight stats are relevant when a fight goes to decision? They can be, but they're definitely not foolproof. Because 1, I don't know who's doing it. 2, it's a human doing it. So CompuBox and all that, someone counting punches, people see different things. Like for example, in the Floyd Mayweather fight with Miguel Cotto would get Mayweather on the ropes, and he's letting his hands go. It's like bah, 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 ah, ah, ah. And he's throwing all these punches, making these faces, and rallying the crowd. The crowd's going crazy because it looks like, oh man, he's getting to Mayweather, right? He's cornering Mayweather. Watch that shit in slow motion. Blocked, partially blocked. That connected, slipped, moved, ducked, absorbed, partially blocked. You know what I'm saying? So somebody might give him credit for 6 to 8 punches in that sequence, and he didn't really even land but one flush. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely not the end all be all. You can use it as like a best practice or whatever, but it doesn't always tell the truth. I've seen some people it look like they got their ass whooped to me, and then the other person landed more punches according to the CompuBox and final fight stats. So I don't really look at stuff like that as much intently. I have a good set of eyes, big eyes for a reason. So I feel like I view a fight and see what I see. Because you look at Badou Jack versus James DeGale. James DeGale was shoe shining, and Badou Jack had a good stance, and he was blocking some of that stuff. So to some people, they're like, oh, Jack's getting off, DeGale's getting off. But by the end of the fight, DeGale has no teeth. And he's like getting knocked down, and he's badly hurt. So, you know what I mean? I don't rely solely on nothing like that. It's not reliable enough to me. But it can be a gauge, you know what I mean? Next question, Ko Matsuda. Do you think it's possible for Maidana to make a comeback in 2017? I mean, I hope. It's a brand new year. It's just January. If so, who can you see him beating? I just don't think he doesn't have the desire, so I don't think he's going to come back, like, unless he goes broke. That's why you see a lot of fighters come back. So I really don't see him coming back. So I don't know who he can beat. And if he doesn't have the desire to fight, and he was fighting kind of for his family and for the money and stuff, then I don't want to see him come back, and he can't beat nobody. Because there's no way you can beat top level guys and your heart's not even in it, and you don't want to, you don't mean want to scrap. If your heart's not in it and you're content with life and the retired life, then stay retired. But there's a point in time I love Chino, pause. But if his heart's not in it, then I wouldn't want to see someone come back. I want to see him come back for the right reasons, because they got hungry again, and watching certain people on TV made them come back. Next question, Jose Barron. Quick prediction on Pretty Boy Floyd versus Money May. That's very tough. I don't really know. On one hand, I want to say Pretty Boy easily, because he was more of an offensive monster, let his hands go, sick combination punches. But Money May is smarter. He's like, work smarter, not harder. And he's more efficient, and his ring IQ has improved. So it's really a toss-up. I don't really know if in a mythical world, if they could fight each other. You don't really know, because what Pretty Boy Floyd did to Arturo Gatti was just disgusting, and Diego Corrales. But Money May is also very, very smart. You know what I mean? I don't know if he was Money May when he fought Marquez, but I mean, Floyd was, I don't know who he was at that point, but he looked real good in that fight. So it's a toss-up, because Pretty Boy was an offensive monster and way more aggressive and let his hands go a lot more. But then this new Money May is smarter. You know what I'm saying? And he's like sharp ring IQ wise. So you have to hit something. So would Pretty Boy be smart enough to outwit a more mature Floyd, which is Money May? I don't know. You guys let me know. Next question, West P. Ego, if you were a young boxer turning pro, which promotional company would you sign with and why? PBC. Easy work. They just have the best stable and the best paychecks that I've seen. Guerrero got $1.2 million or something to fight Garcia after Keith Thurman beat him, after Floyd Mayweather beat him, and he fought Danny Garcia and still got over $1 million. And Danny Garcia got like $1.5 million. So the paychecks are there, the exposure's there, national TV, just a lot of people you could fight. PBC has the juice right now. You want it all, the juice. Next question, Ruben Escobedo. Ego, how big do you think Joshua versus Wilder can be if it happens later this year or 2018? If they both win their next fight, huge. Pause. I would love to see that fight here in the States, but you know it will probably be bigger in the UK. Keep up the good work as always. Thank you. It's a big fight. It's been brewing in the fans' mind for quite some time, including me. I would love to see it. UK is lit, so I mean, it would definitely make sense. But me being in America, I would love to see it out here, and I want to see Joshua come out here. America deserves a fight like that. That's a big fight. Next question, Joe Kelly. Hey, Ego, just wondering, who do you think Lomachenko is going to fight next? It's the Corrales guy. I forgot his name. Something Corrales. I think he's Panamanian, but that's Jezreel Corrales or something like that. I think that's a likely person. And if it's another move up in weight, it's not. Then should Rigondeaux move down to chase Chocolatito? I don't think he's going to move up that quick. He just got to 130. He's a champion there. Just beat Nicholas Walters impressively, and before that knocked out Rocky Martinez and knocked out Walters. So I don't think he's going to move up to 35. Stay at 130. And maybe Rigondeaux, if he can make the weight, which I think he can, but I'm not his nutritionist. I'm not Chris Algieri. So I think he should chase Chocolatito, especially if Lomachenko doesn't want to fight at a catch weight, because I don't know. That's a fight I would love to see. Next question. No LA TV show 3. If Adrian Broner gets past Granados, which big name would you like to see him face next and why? Danny Garcia. Win or lose versus Keith Thurman. I think that's a big fight. I know they're friends, but it's a fight I would want to see. It's a fight I've wanted to see. So if he gets past the pressure fighting style of a Granados, that's the fight, the big name fight that I want to see. Or Pacquiao. I mean, he's been calling out Pacquiao, Marquez. I'd love to see Broner versus Marquez, even at this point. Marquez is still a technician, still dangerous, still has power. Very smart. See how Broner's pretty flat-footed, so I think that would be a good fight. So those are the names, the 3 that come off. Pacquiao. I'd love to see that. Next question comes from Keith Mathis, one fresh to death. Ego, my brother from another mother. Have you heard anything about the Victor Ortiz-Brandon Rios fight? It seems like basically, Gail Brook voice, that fight is off. I said earlier, I'm not sure. I haven't heard any updates. Last time I seen both guys on their Instagram, looked like they were training, and that's it. I don't know if the fight's off. I don't know if there's a money dispute or what, but hopefully it still goes on. It's a little bit late, but people will still tune in to see it, especially in LA. I think it'd be, something to do, something to watch. So I haven't heard any updates. I have to do some research and try to find out. Next question, Mr. Ibrahim. What heavyweight does Andre Ward have a chance against if he really goes up to heavyweight like he said? I don't know. I mean, I think that's an uphill battle. Roy Jones fought John Ruiz, who was solid, but some of the heavyweights of today, like Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Klitschko, Anthony Joshua, I think they're too big and they hit too hard. So, I mean, without the Glasgows and maybe like a Charles Martin or Steve Cunningham having a title, I don't really know who he's going to get a title from, because the guys that do have titles that I could think of are all too big for Andre Ward. And, at that point, skill is good, but those guys are just, they're knocking out guys who are equal in size, 250, 262 pounds. So, Ward wouldn't have a chance against those size people. Next question, Squiddy Tentacles. Hey, Ego, keep up the good work, man. Thank you. Do you think Anthony Joshua's chin is a question mark going into the Klitschko fight? We've seen him get rocked by White and dropped in the amateurs. Now, honestly, I've said this before. I can't just single out AJ's chin, because guess what? He's finding a way to win. He got dropped by Dillian White in the amateurs, but then what happened as a pro? He got hurt in the fight, but he went to stop Dillian White, right? Who showed you how game he is in the Jarek Chisora fight, because I thought Chisora hurt him at points, and he has a lot of heart, and he has a competitive streak. So, realistically, everybody's chin is in question. I've seen them all hurt. All the top guys I've seen hurt. I don't know about Luis Ortiz. I don't know if I've seen him hurt, but he's not Superman either. I've seen Tyson Fury get knocked down by a cruiserweight, Steve Cunningham. I've seen Wilder buckled by Eric Molina. I think he got hurt maybe in the Johan Duhaupas fight, but played it off. I've seen him get knocked out as an amateur. So, all the guys, when you're fighting guys who are that big, 250 plus pounds, I'm sure anybody could get up out of there with the right shot. So, I don't look at Joshua's chin as a question mark, because if that's the case, we've seen Vlad stopped multiple times. He got stopped before. Joshua hasn't been stopped as a pro, or in the amateurs, I don't remember. He might have got stopped in the amateurs, I don't know. But as a pro, he hasn't been stopped. So he's working through the pain, and that's what comes with the territory. You're fighting guys 6'5", 6'6", that big. You could get hurt. Next question, Stealth74U. Hey, Ego, love how you're growing on YouTube. Thank you. Quick question. When do you think we'll see Salido versus Lomachenko 2? And do you think Orlando can pull off the upset again? I don't know if we'll see it. Maybe this year, later this year. I think Lomachenko may fight Corrales. who may be his mandatory. He's ranked. I would pick Lomachenko. He's just maturing as a fighter. He almost had Salido stopped in the 12th round, and I don't believe lightning strikes twice. You know what I mean? When you see two fighters fight, and let's say one fighter does a lot better than people suspect against the highly skilled guy, and I'm not saying Salido has no skills, but Lomachenko has complete overall skills, right? So when you see the underdog or the guy who's less complete give the other person problems, usually they don't duplicate it. You look at Castillo versus Mayweather. What happened in the rematch? You know what I mean? The first fight was real close, and then after Floyd got the shoulder surgery, same year, a couple months later, 6 months later, he rematched him, and it was clear who won. Same thing with Maidana and Floyd. Maidana got Floyd, gave him a good ass first fight, right? And then the second one, I mean, there was clear separation where no one was saying it was a draw or Maidana won, things like that. So I think when you give a skilled and more complete fighter that do-over, a lot of times it's hard for the other person, because now he knows what Lomachenko, not only has he beat Gary Russell and guys like Nicholas Axeman Walters since then, he knows what to expect. Okay, Orlando might be thuggish, ruggish bone. He might be overweight. He might be low blow. Now he knows what to expect and prepare for, and he's the overall more complete fighter. So, I mean, I wouldn't pick Salido, but I still want to see it because I could be wrong, and Salido's a dog, so he's going to at least try to push the fight and put pressure on Lomachenko, and maybe that's just Lomachenko's kryptonite. I don't know, but off of what I've seen on the eye test, I think Lomachenko is clearly the more complete fighter, and he has more tools, so I think he'll pull it off in the rematch. I don't know if we'll see it anytime soon, though. Next question, Big Nart Stye. Can we get some ego impressions, please? I am thinking Danny Angel Garcia versus Keith Thurman skit will be good. Yo, ego, you better not duck me, son. Hashtag ego impressions. Yeah, I'm working. It's just, I try to get to everything. You guys see the channel, so I balance a lot. Facebook, Instagram, I run all my pages, my website with the help of my writer, Bakari, shout out to him. And I'm trying to bring everything to you guys, bring some entertainment, facts, updates, all that. Next question, Hiram Zarate. Hey, Ego, keep up the good work. Thank you. Should Chavez Jr. try to adopt and work on movement so he can use it against Canelo? No. And I'll tell you why in a second. Or should he go forward and use his size and strength to wear down Canelo? I've seen Chavez Jr. on his IG working on the bag with only his left glove on, working his jab hook combo. Yeah, I've seen that too. The reason why I don't think is because Chavez Jr., let's say he's just under 30. He's 25 to 30. I don't know his exact age off the top of my head. But you're not going to be able to reinvent your style dramatically in one training camp. That's not how it works. It's impossible. You can try to implement stuff, you could try to do stuff, but you have to ultimately go with what you know best. And I don't think that's Chavez Jr.'s DNA to use his legs and use movement. And why would you want to try something out? Canelo's a hell of a fighter. Why would you want to try something brand new out against a good ass fighter and then find out, man, it's the 8th round and I'm tired from moving so much, right? And you don't have the stamina to keep doing it. So I wouldn't do it. I don't think he has the footwork. He's never shown to be that type of fighter. And maybe he'll catch Canelo off guard, but can he do that for 12 rounds? You know what I mean? So I don't think so. You're not going to adapt a completely different style unless you had it to begin with, had the ability. Like I've seen Mayweather use his legs more, and then in some fights, like Cotto or Maidana won, he stands his ground, fights off the ropes, and it's more of a flat-footed fight. But that's because he's a complete fighter to begin with, and he could already do all that stuff. He just hasn't had to show it in every single fight. But Chavez Jr., I mean, at this point, he has a lot of fights in terms of the number of fights he's had. Probably 40, 50 fights or whatever it's been. So in all his fights, I never really seen him using lateral movement a lot and not coming forward with that aggression. So why would he do it now? It reminds me of Berto. Came back off a 15-month layoff versus Guerrero. Good, solid fighter. At the time was a interim champion, and he started the shoulder roll. Like, why would you try to do that all of a sudden? Your whole career, that's not what you were doing. So don't try to pick up and adopt different things. I think Chavez Jr. should. Canelo's the one moving up 10 plus pounds. So he needs to use his size advantage against Canelo. Next question, Janja. Keep up the grind, Ego. You inspire me to get a better grind. Thank you. Do you think boxing media should talk more about the top 15 fighters per division? At least 5 good divisions like welterweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight, super welterweight, or junior middleweight, featherweight, rather than talking only about the big names. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to talk about the big names because they're like guaranteed views and ratings, depending on what we're talking about, websites and YouTube. But it's always helpful because it helps the sport of boxing, and there's a lot of good fighters in stacked divisions. Heavyweight stacked, welterweight stacked, 154 stacked. So there's a lot of names that are emerging, maybe not have the name, but they're still skilled fighters. Nowadays, it's beat one guy in your division and move up, and the cycle repeats. This way, boxing becomes even more popular due to the fans hearing and being aware of possible matchups. It's a very good point too. You also set up the future and future fights. Many people always ask who is next after big fights, as if there isn't already a top 10 for each belt, not to mention mandatories and other champions in the same division to become undisputed. This way gives opportunity or chances, plenty of fights, matchups, and clears up whom is the best. And then you said it best. It sets up future fights. It gives you a preview, like a snapshot. You could be like, okay, this guy couldn't beat Golovkin, but what about this Danny Jacobs guy? He's ranked, he's rated. So if you didn't know about him, maybe you studied Danny Jacobs. So yeah, I love it. I think it's a good idea, and more people should do that. Next question, James Gordon. I live in Louisiana, and I was wondering why we never ever have any big fights down here. We got the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and New Orleans has hosted some big fights like Leonard Duran 2, No Mas, but that was forever ago. The best fight that is practical for me is Wilder in Birmingham, right? Also, have you heard of Regis? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Pro-Gay. He is from New Orleans, but was displaced by Hurricane Katrina and now fights out of Houston. He is undefeated and fights at super lightweight. I appreciate what you do. Keep up the good work. Now, I've never been to the NO or Louisiana, so I don't know. I don't know the logistics. I don't know the economy post-Katrina. So maybe that has something to do with it. Just certain places are known meccas of boxing and fight towns like New York, obviously LA, Vegas, UK. So maybe it just hasn't been tapped into, but that's definitely, if you guys have the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and stuff, maybe that's an untapped market. The other thing is the fighter origin. Aside from the guy Regis that you just mentioned, who else is fighting from Louisiana? You know what I mean? That has a built-in fan base. That's another thing. Like let's say Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares, they're both from LA. They're both based out of LA. So they fought in the Staples Center. You know what I mean? It's a natural fit. So if Kell Brook and Sean Porter fought in Louisiana, neither one of them, one's from the UK and Sean Porter's from the Midwest. He's from Ohio. So, you know what I mean? That might be logistically, from a business perspective, that might be why, because I can't off the top of my head think of too many active like fighters from Louisiana. So it would be two like foreigners to that state fighting each other there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that might have something to do with it, but I don't know. Next question, random commenter. Is Victor Ortiz, Brandon Rios still happening? A lot of people, has it been canceled? A lot of people asking about this. I really haven't heard any updates, but as soon as I do, I will try to give you guys an updated video. Another one from Keith Mathis, one fresh to death. One more thing, Ego. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. Oh, Bill Clinton? I just want the American people to know I did not have sexual relations with that woman. The bitch. She's lying. And I know you know your boxing, but what do you think of Jermaine Taylor's jab? or him as a fighter, I thought he had a real good jab. Taylor had power. He had a good jab. He had a good frame, good build for his division. The biggest problem to me with Taylor was his mind. That's basically it. Victor Ortiz is a good fighter too, but his mind, his psychologically, when the going gets tough, what do? You know what I mean? Like, I've seen some Taylor out of ring antics, and he's shooting guns and acting weird and acting crazy. So that's the biggest thing. Also, stamina. I think he might have had stamina issues because he was like doing good versus Kelly Pavlik or whatever fight, Carl Froch, and then he gets stopped like in the last round and shit. So stamina might have also been his downfall. And the final question, Fresh BX. Why is being undisputed champion in boxing not pushed for more by the public? Why is Demetrius Andrade not getting the mentions he deserves as best young prospects like Spence, Crawford, Lomachenko? Kind of already know the answer. This question is for the best fighters. Why don't they be more vocal and adamant about saying they're the best and calling out other fighters? I feel there's a couple in various weight classes with legit claims to this. Not necessarily taking the Floyd angle, but I feel a lot of guys are too humble and passive. Okay, let me try to break this part down. Undisputed is because everyone thinks there's a fast track to the money, and a lot of people are picking out money fights, and like, to be undisputed, it's not necessarily bankable. You might have to fight a bigger threat than another guy with a bigger name that doesn't have a belt. So a lot of what these boxers are doing is totally the business angle. Like, why would I fight this guy to become undisputed? He has a belt, but this guy got a bigger name. You know what I mean? Like Canelo, he's moving up to 160. He's not fighting the champion. He's moving past 160, but he's fighting Chavez Jr. Why not fight a champion at 160, get his belt, and start the process if you're going to fight Golovkin? But again, a lot of people go the money route and that. Demetrius Andrade's inactivity has hurt him because he's a hell of a fighter. I've watched him spar. I posted his sparring. He's phenomenal, southpaw. It's just, he has the personality, in my opinion. It's just the activity, you know what I mean? Boxing is a what have you done for me lately fight. And the Willie Nelson was a great interest to show that he still has it and he's still a problem. But then how did he follow up? He was supposed to fight Jack Kukale in Germany. The camps argued about the contract, and then the fight got pushed back, and he didn't do anything for the rest of 2016. He fought once in the summer, and that's it. You can't, for a fighter that young and a fighter that good and a fighter that skilled, you can't be fighting that infrequent. Maybe one particular year, but I mean, he hasn't broke that dry spell. You know what I mean? Like Mikey Garcia, he was inactive for 2 years. We all knew why. Top rank, legal battle. But then since he came back last year on the Leo Santa Cruz Carl Frampton 1 card, and he fought the Elias Rojas, and now he's fighting on the Leo Santa Cruz Carl Frampton 2 card against a champion, Dejan Zlaticanin, right? Andre Ward, he fought 3 times last year, and 2 of them were like ranked people in the division, Sullivan Barrera, and then obviously Kovalev, and then he had the Alexander Brand fight as a tune-up. So that's really it with Andre for me. He just has to get more active. And the more fighters being like vocal and adamant, some people it's not their personality. They rather let their talking do in the ring. But you got to seize and take advantage of social media and everything that it offers. You know what I mean? There's people, if you have a mouthpiece, there's a market and there's probably more money in it for you. See Floyd Mayweather, see Adrian Broner, see Conor McGregor. They're getting probably some of the best paychecks in their division and or sport. And it's because they're salesmen and there's a pitch to it, right? Whether you love them or hate them. Even Angel Garcia with what he did, people are talking about it. Videos are going viral. Articles are being shared and highly read based on what Angel did. So it's still a salesperson. Some people just haven't realized that to the point where they tap into it. Who's the next superstar in your opinion? Errol Spence Jr., Crawford, I think Tank, Lomachenko, Oscar Valdez, Anthony Joshua if he beats Klitschko. I mean, there's a ton. I could do this really all day. There's a lot of people. I think DeAndre Wilder, If he beats like a Joshua, that'll catapult his celebrity. So there's a lot of people. Why is Lomachenko on pound for pound list with only 8 fights? Actually, he has a good resume for only 8 fights, and it's all politics. You know what I mean? They're gonna anoint who they want to anoint really quick, and there's double standards that comes with the territory. What would it take for boxing to be on the level of NBA, MLB, etc.? A governing body, because all those organizations, NFL, NBA, MLB, hockey, NHL, all that, they have governing bodies. They have actual rules. You don't see like, oh, like Kell Brook, what he's doing. Oh, I'm not fighting him. People don't know him. I can't get up for him. You don't see people doing interviews like that in any of those organizations. The Cleveland Cavaliers can't be like, oh, we already beat the Golden State Warriors last year in the finals. So even though they're doing good and they're highest ranked in their conference, right, we're not playing them. We're not going to play against them. The Warriors bring us no money. We already have a built-in fan base. Nobody knows who the Golden State Warriors are. You know what I'm saying? The Atlanta Falcons shouldn't face off against the Patriots. Nobody knows the Falcons. They've been a bad team. Everybody knows the Patriots. Everybody knows Tom Brady, but not enough people know the Atlanta Falcons. They haven't been popular since Andre Rison. You know what I mean? That stuff sounds stupid, but that's the type of shit you get in boxing. And it also takes a little bit more unity. Top Rank working with Al Heyman. Al Heyman working with Top Rank. Golden Boy working with all of them. Man, you got a lot of questions. Why can't boxing decisions be overturned in highway robbery situations, i.e. CJ Ross? Just, I don't know. Just, I guess the way it's always been, and they don't have instant replay that the judges use, and, you know what I mean, they'll just fire the person and just let the decision ride. I mean, it's been happening for years. Chavez Jr. versus Pernell Whitaker. That's one of the major ones. Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. That wasn't no damn draw, right? Pacquiao Bradley, a lot of people, I mean, I thought Pacquiao won. Well, he didn't look as good as they were trying to make him, but he still won the fight, in my opinion. How much do top boxing referees make? I don't know. You're better off Googling that. I don't know, because I don't think there's a basis. I think it just kind of depends on your resume and what fight and stuff like that. I really don't know. How does the boxing public write off people after one loss? Kind of know the answer, but I would like to hear your perspective. It's just a lot of fans are casuals, and Broner has 2 losses, and people tell him to hang up. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. So a lot of people, it's Floyd Mayweather or bust in their opinion. You know what I mean? Like, Floyd was able to do it 19 years, 20 years, and preserve his O. So some people use that as the catalyst. Oh, this guy has a loss. It's not like the UFC. Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather Jr., who wins and why? Depends what weight. There's a lot of stuff. Depends on what weight, but I mean, it's a good fight. I really don't know. I respect both of them and stuff like that. It's not going to happen, so it really doesn't even matter. And I got to cut this video short. Prime Roy Jones versus Prime Andre Ward, who wins and why? And again, that's a similar question, but I've already answered this one. I'm picking Roy Jones over anybody, right? Within those weights, like 168, the weights where he looked that good and dominant in his prime, I would pick Roy Jones over any of them. Golovkin, Andre Ward, Calzaghe, prime for prime. Nobody was beating Mr. Untouchable. And that wraps up today's Monday Mail Day. I tried to get to a lot of questions. Let me know how you think I did this week. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing.